Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuiki. Coming up,
We are still largely undermined a lot, women in our country.
Solomon Islands removes tax on menstrual products. Also, Samoan elders seek compensation almost a year on since the sinking of Manawanui. And
Oh, darling, you have too much light to share to stay in the dark.
Miss Samoa reflects on her reign and being in the public eye. The Solomon Islands is the first Pacific country to scrap tax on menstrual products. Advocates say menstrual hygiene is a critical but often overlooked issue, and the removal of tax on products will ease cost barriers and make them more accessible. I spoke with Project PTR lead Gladys Bartlett and began by asking her how long she's been pushing for the change.
Thank you so much for having me. So we got the team together around August last year, so it's been just under a year actually, working towards this particular cause for removing taxes on menstrual products in Solomon Islands. We're grateful that it has come around full circle within the 1 year. We didn't expect this at all, really.
So what does this change mean for young women in the Solomon Islands?
I think it's a really significant change for women in Solomon Islands, especially because this is something that a lot of women and girls throughout the country have struggled with financially to access. It is very expensive, and with the taxes previously at almost 30%. I think there was an opportunity for us to see if we could remove that and then, make it a bit more affordable for girls in the country and women as well. And I think once this comes into play, it will be impacting the lives of almost 200,000 women and girls in Solomon Islands who are actively in the reproductive phase.
I just want to go back to what you said earlier about you not expecting the change to actually happen. Why is that?
Because sometimes I guess with the government, it can take a while for things to eventuate. But we were very hopeful. The team, my team are very amazing people from all different professional backgrounds, and we all did this voluntarily, came together, put a plan together. We've had people on the team who've worked on different reforms for many, many years that has taken time. And to this day, some of them have not even eventuated. So the fact that this one has happened and has been gazetted is actually quite amazing, especially with the government, political instability at the earlier part of this year. So, we're really, really, really pleased with the outcome.
How much do menstrual products usually cost in the Solomon Islands?
In Solomon dollars, on average, the cheapest packet is probably about between $8 to $10. And then it ranges from there all the way up to even like around $50, $60. So it can be quite expensive for people to afford. And this is the prices that is in town. Once these products go into like villages and remote communities in the, islands, considering we are very scattered, these then have, extra charges from the sea freight, air freight, and things like that. And so it just gets more and more pricey by the time it gets into the communities.
When you say that it's 50 or 60, is that per month? And is that a lot in terms of wages that people earn in Solomon Islands?
Yeah, so that would be for one packet. So depending on Black people's flows, I'm sure some would need more than one packet, which has 8 or 10 pads inside. I think if you're gonna use 2 packets, for example, that's going into $100, and that's per month. And imagine if you've got like few girls in the family who are using period products, if you extrapolate that to the rest of the community, that is quite a lot of money. So it's quite expensive for us to afford.
From a cultural perspective, is talking about periods generally a taboo subject in the Solomon Islands?
Yes, it is very taboo. It still is, I guess, very quietly spoken about, not much open. But we're trying our best to kind of break the stigma around it and be able to kind of respectfully share about, things like that in the family, so that girls can be able to, speak with their dad if they need money, for example, or, I guess help for guys to also be able to respect females a bit more. I think opening up the conversation will kind of help to restore that dignity in our Melanesian women and other ethnicities in the country.
Yeah, it's all about changing attitudes, really, isn't it? But from this change, what's been the response? What's been the immediate response like from the public towards the tax removal of period products?
I think there's been actually a lot of people have been really happy generally, especially women, though I do see there are still a lot of men and even some women kind of wondering why this even is, as significant as it is that some of us kind of see it as. For example, recently the Prime Minister was speaking on behalf of the Pacific at the UNGA, and he did talk about the efforts that the country has kind of put towards uplifting women and girls in the country. And he spoke about sanitary pads being distributed in provinces, the tax. This was posted on Facebook. There were people who were just like reacting like, haha, like laughing towards it. And it just goes to show, when you look at the number of people that are reacting that way, a lot of them are male. And so we are still largely undermined a lot, women in our country. And it just goes to show that we still have to keep advocating. We still have to keep breaking barriers with having like these very sensitive conversation, and just let people know that we have a lot, a long way to go in helping our women in the country. And these are some of the critical steps that we need to take to show women in Solomon Islands and the region that we value them, and we don't want to be adding extra pressure onto something that is so normal for the human body to go through.
That was Gladys Bartlett talking about the removal of tax on menstrual products in the Solomon Islands. It's been almost a year since the HMNZ Manawanui sunk off the south coast of Upolu in Samoa. But people from affected communities in Safata say their livelihoods are still being impacted, and they continue to call for the removal of the wreck. Grace Viva-Ai visited villages on the south coast while in Samoa.
The 6th of October will mark exactly a year since the Manawanui disaster. Work to remove toxic materials from the ship is finished, and the Samoan government has given the all clear and reopened the area for fishing. It has also decided to let the ship remain where it lies. Tawhitowala elder Puleanga Vise Siopatia Fatu says the once rich fishing grounds have been destroyed.
This was a place where money came in like nothing because of the fish and other seafood we were able to sell before the ship sunk to the markets. We would be out fishing from Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday.
Tali'ilangi Mawawatu Upo Amatai from Tawhitowala says people are also worried about the long-term effect of the wreck.
It needs to be removed. The ship cannot stay there, especially when it gets rusty. It'll affect the coral and our livelihoods.
Fotua Tupe Lema Whana o Lengutu says the memory of that fateful Sunday in October last year is still fresh.
Now, when the incident had happened on Sunday, this whole village couldn't bear to stay here. Because of the smell of the oil, it was very strong. Even the fish to kill when we cooked it up to eat, especially the anai or mullet. When cooked, that's when you could really smell it.
The government's response is disheartening.
There was a sense of sadness when the report from government came back saying there is no impact on Safata from this incident, but it would be nice if they all came to witness for themselves the things we experience here.
Safata number 2 MP Toya Longoi Aipua Letoa says neither government has offered clear answers.
It's for the government of Samoa and the government of New Zealand. Please consider what are we being asking for. We are asking for a fair compensation to our people. Our environment, our livelihood is not the same, so we're still asking to compensate us for a fair compensation to the district of Safata.
Samoa's Prime Minister at the time of the disaster was Fiamē Naomi Mata'afa.
The priority was to, clear any toxic elements from the ship, sort of monitoring the impact on the environment, and then monitoring the impact on the villages in terms of livelihoods that are drawn from the ocean.
She says the Manawanui was off the coast to help with security for King Charles, who was staying in the area. Fiamē says there was work to do before compensation could be considered.
We had to do a survey to advise New Zealand in terms of compensation. I think that's more or less finalised. So it's just a matter of beginning to do the implementation.
Fiamē, who has emerged from the recent election an independent MP outside of government, says this work now falls to the new administration, which came into power last week.
The outgoing Miss Samoa Litara Jeremiah Allen says the highlight of her pageant campaign was going through the Anufale mentorship program. She says having these kinds of spaces is important for young Samoan women intending to enter the hugely popular and highly competitive world of Pacific pageantry. The 2025 Miss Samoa pageant is just weeks away in Apia after having been pushed back to October to avoid clashing with a national general election. Grace Viva-Ai sat down with Miss Jeremiah Allen in Apia and talked about what it was like becoming Miss Samoa.
I think the role is a very public platform. On a public platform, I was a very private person before. And it took me a while to get used to sharing my life with everyone. But one quote I just wanted to share was my dear Auntie Peone, my late Auntie Peone, who's very beloved here in Samoa by many. She quickly messaged me one night and I kind of said to her, Auntie, I'm struggling with the public office, and she said, oh darling, you have too much light to share, to stay in the dark. And I thought that's such a picture of what our youth are capable of, right? They have so much light to share, but they just need that one person or that one encouragement to share what they have. So I'm really grateful that people have believed in me, and from that I've been able to step out and get a bit more confident.
How are preparations coming along for the Miss Samoa pageant?
Thank you. It's a really exciting time. I think we are just coming into our Anofali exhibition, and that's normally the big high that we have that gives us the momentum to go into the Miss Samoa. And we've had the privilege of mentoring 50 girls this year from all over, and some young professionals, some university. And so all of them are really busy now learning. They have to learn 6 different pieces and everything. They have to learn different parts of the Samoa. And then we're also getting ready to go into the pageant. It's quite an emotional time. It's God's timing, I think, and I'm really excited.
If you had to pick 3 words to sum up your journey as Miss Samoa, what would they be?
Wow. I would say humbling, courage, duty.
How important is it to have these kinds of programs, especially in Samoa? We saw that Tonga also has followed through, and I think it's amazing. So how important is it to have these kind of programs for the next up-and-coming generation of young females?
I think it's important because you're creating a safe space. I think there are some people that naturally have the inkling to want to get up and do things, but often a lot of the best leaders have untapped potential. They don't realize that they're leaders, and often they're the most humble people. And I've noticed that in this mentorship space, it's a safe space for girls to ask questions. It's a safe space for them to even just be themselves. But it's also a very important platform for girls to network. And I think the strength of future leaders, future female leaders in the Pacific, depends on whether they uphold and uplift each other. I think it's great that we celebrate individuals, but how connected are we as female leaders? Programs like this uphold that. And it's my hope that from that, our young girls, our youth of today understand that being a Tamaitai leader, being a Pacific female leader is not about having the biggest CV or having the most accolades. It's about being in a network of women that are pushing the country forward.
How did you feel adapting another cultural, dance, and you left Tonga like the Queen.
Oh, thank you. I love Tonga. Yeah, the Kingdom of Tonga it's a very, very beautiful country. And there really aren't any words to express what you feel when you go there. One of my favorite things about that trip was that it reminded me of my upbringing. I grew up in New Zealand, and as a Samoan New Zealander, you grow up with Tongans, you grow up with Niueans, you grow up with Cook Islanders and tangata whenua and everybody. And I used to think every time I came back home to Samoa, oh man, it must be a negative thing, because does it dilute my Samoa? When I went to Tonga, I really was grateful for my upbringing in New Zealand, because it made me appreciate diversity and how when you're raised with others, you then become a Pacific citizen. You don't just become like you own your own, you start owning everyone's in a humble way. So when I went to Tonga, I was just like texting all my Tongan friends that I grew up with. I'm like, man, I can't believe that I'm here. They were like laughing at me and everything. But the embodiment of my love for them and my love for the Tongan culture was a direct fruit, right, of that upbringing. May it be a lesson for Samoan and Tongans to always come together and back each other.
That was Miss Samoa, Litara Yeremia Allen, speaking with our reporter Grace Viva'ai. That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā sui fua.